proud members of the Podbelly Podcast Network.
I know you're tired. I know you're hurting. And I wish I could say something that was classy and inspirational. You can do it! But that just wouldn't be our style.
Welcome to Project Reclamation, where you rebuild, re-energize, and reclaim your life. Tim is hotboxing his room with his lung butter vape juice, and yeah.
Are we recording?
Yeah.
Nice. What's up, everybody?
If you could see the Zoom, if you could see the Zoom call, it's like Tim's in the episode of the movie How High right now. Not really. It's not.
No, I'm not high.
It's not THC. It's just just nicotine.
Yep.
What's up, dude? What's going on?
Not much. Welcome back, everybody, to Project Reclamation. Another episode with Tim and JB. Yay! Howdy, friends. This is Cowboy whatever. That guy from last episode we were talking about. That guy's awesome.
Cowboy Kent Rollins, man. Cowboy Kent Rollins. Yep.
Kent Rollins. We're making some armadillo eggs today.
Ooh, something or other Twinkies. Some Texas Twinkies. Which is like
eggs.
Jalapeno stuffed with brisket, cream cheese, and wrapped in bacon. Which, I mean, who wouldn't like? I've actually had that as a what is it, Diablo shrimp, something like that. I don't know.
Dude, the other one that's amazing, and apparently if you hunt dove, which I never have, this is how you eat dove. This is how everyone eats dove. If you watch Meat Eater with Steve Ranella, you've seen him do this. But you just take a half of a jalapeno. You fill it with, you gut it, you fill it with cream cheese, and then you put like a little piece of dove meat on top of that, and then you wrap the whole thing in bacon, and then you throw it on a grill. And I don't know what it's called, but
I've done that with venison. It was really good.
But you could literally use any kind of meat.
Yeah.
If you didn't happen to kill a dove or a deer, you could just use whatever piece of meat you got. You could probably use chicken. You could use beef, pork.
Chicken would be good.
Whatever.
Pork.
Yeah.
Anything that's mutton. Delicious. Mutton. Yeah. Medallions of rabbit.
You could do that too. Yeah.
Yeah. What do they call rabbit? Is there like a name for rabbit? Is it just like rabbit?
Rabbit.
Like, like deer is venison.
Deer is venison.
Beef is beef. Pig is pork.
Pig is pork. Beef.
I guess cow is beef.
Well, cows are beef. Well, not really though, because a cow. No, then they call them heads of beef. The farmers do. We don't. We just call them all cows. But technically, usually steaks come from steers, right?
I don't think the sex of the animal has anything to do with it. I think typically, because obviously if it's a female cow, it's a heifer, you're going to milk them.
They keep the cows for milk, and then the steers, and they need the bulls because they need a few bulls. But then, the steers, I think, end up getting. Yeah, I don't think it really matters. I don't think necessarily it's always one sex or the other. But
obviously, if you don't know what a steer is that it is a cow that does not have its reproductive.
It's a bull
organs with no nuts.
It's basically like your boy dog at home.
Yeah. That's no unfortunate.
Nuts. This trail mix has no nuts.
Good old raisins and
twig and no berries.
Yep. Yeah. So here's your your daily anatomy lesson with Tim and JB.
I bought seedless peppers for the first time. I didn't even know they existed.
Seedless peppers?
Yeah, they're literally peppers without seeds. I didn't know they existed.
But see, you can't regrow those.
Well, no, you can't. It's kind of a dumb idea, to be honest. But hey, if you're just cooking with them, they already made them. So I'm sure they're all like completely GMO and whatever else. Who knows?
Well, they have to be if there's no seeds in them.
Yeah, 100%. But anyways, I did get some because they're the like the sweet red peppers. Kind of the ones that if you get like a vegetable spread, they're great with like, you got like the carrots and like the celery and like the little cherry tomatoes and then like the red peppers and then like the ranch in the middle.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. Yeah, those are like those sweet red peppers. JB's still literally since our last episode a week ago, JB has been on this gold site. He hasn't left. And that's definitely not because we're recording these 2 episodes in a row.
No, we are not. We're in a time vortex.
Week. We are in a time. You know what? We're time travelers, pretty much.
Time travelers.
We're time travelers. So, seedless red peppers blew my mind. I don't think I'd buy them again because it weirded me out. But Chinese panda silver coin.
Yep. American Eagle Silver Coin Monster Box. American Eagle Silver Coin Monster Box. 500
Is
coins.
that like you get a bunch of coins and like some Monster energy drinks?
Totally.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about today, dude?
I wanted to talk about free therapy.
Free therapy. All right. Tell me about this. What are you thinking here? What's going on?
Well, I think that me included, have things have been weird lately. Obviously, with pandemics and riots and everything, and but so I think we tend, as humans, we have struggles. We have mental struggles and physical struggles, but I think sometimes you get depressed, and sometimes it's just good to talk to people. Even if you're not depressed, it's good to talk to people. I think it definitely helps, and talk to the right people. Just like we've talked about, like cleaning up your Facebook feed or your Twitter feed or whatever, because you have friends and you follow people who are positive, and probably a lot of people who are negative, and you can get rid of, you can mute the negative. You do the same thing with choosing who you talk to, like and just talking about what you're talking about. Like obviously, like even JB and I, like JB is one of my positive people. But like if we talk, and we tend to go down rabbit holes of conspiracy theories and shit. But just talking, like just Steve and I were talking about this a couple episodes ago. How just like, dude, hopefully this podcast helps people and helps you guys stay positive. But honestly, it's like a huge therapy for us, just talking about positive things and talking about being positive is like huge therapy for us included. So
just interacting with people.
We all have really people. Interacting with people is really free therapy, and we all have the ability to have free therapy. Or like if your mom is a happy person, call your mom, talk to your mom. She probably wants to hear from you. Talk to your dad, maybe he wants to hear from you. And,
well, it was funny. So, I was listening to
noises.
I know, I'm sorry. I was listening to Joe Rogan on the Jocko Willink episode, and they were talking about how social media is like the worst way to communicate with people. A, because there's no context. B, because there's context, but there's no. You're usually reacting to some sort of inflammatory emotional content. So i.e. like trolls and stuff like that. Oh, you can all that. So you could like say something and not have the visual cues. And then there's like email, which is kind of more intentional. If you're asking somebody, you're saying, hey, whatever. And then there's phone calls because you're actually hearing the person's voice. You can get more social cues. And then there's like Zoom, which is we're on right now. We can actually see each other's faces. We can kind of get those social cues. Then there's actually in person, which is what we should be doing, which the entire world has been, robbed of this last like 3 or 4 months. So kind of on that spectrum, we as human beings require human contact in face-to-face nature. Yes. that alone, going out and being in front of people will actually help you emotionally.
100%, and that is free therapy. So that was my whole thing, man. Free therapy.
Well, because people think of therapy as like going with a psychologist or a psychiatrist, and there is that part of it, but therapy is mostly just kind of healing, wouldn't you say? Like the definition.
Well, yeah, and a lot of it is just talking shit out. So like, and if your friend calls you up, JB's good at this. Like he's like, so how you feeling, man? I'm like, I'm all right. Well, what do you mean by that? Like, what's wrong, bro? Like, blah, 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 blah. And then like, just, that's all a therapist is going to do. Well, why do you feel that way? Like, why do you think that is? Like, I don't know. I've been drinking too much. Well, why do you think that is? Oh, cause I'm kind of like, I don't know. I'm kind of in a rut. Well, dude, tell me more about that. Like just talking it out with somebody, no matter what it is, or just talking to somebody, just knowing that you're not alone in whatever. Because JD probably he probably when I have like whatever when you're depressed or whatever, someone else probably is too. And not that you guys should dwell on that, but you could probably help each other out of it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and just sometimes you can get in your own head really easily, and especially now because we're all for the last months everybody was confined to their houses and being drip fed this negativity. There's it's no wonder that there's been a ton of suicides and stuff like that. Like, duh, that's if you put people into a situation like that, make alcohol a necessary, whatever they call it. Okay, what were they called? Those businesses that could operate during the
Essential.
Essential. Yeah, you're making alcohol and all that stuff essential, and you have like limited human contact. Like if you live in alone in an apartment, like that's going to be some depressing stuff. You're going to get inside your head, and if you can only talk to people over the phone, you're not going to get into those visual cues. You're not going to. It's not a healthy environment to be in, And again, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm just kind of a logical thinking person. And you go through that, it's like no wonder people are going to be depressed. Yes, it's okay, talk about it. Maybe you did some things you didn't want to do, all this stuff, I don't know. But yeah.
Well, dude, it's interesting because there's a guy that Joe Rogan has had on his podcast a few times, and I forget what his name is. If I can find it or remember it, I'll put it there. But he's written I think he's written a few books, and he's done a lot of research and like interviewed people, and he talks a lot about addiction, and he's done a lot of research on countries where drugs are legal versus illegal or decriminalized, but ultimately even alcohol, addiction, and his whole thing is that people think that the problem is like access to drugs or access to alcohol, but really it comes down to hopelessness and helplessness, and I think you could add like loneliness to that too. And so if you look at some of the stats, during this whole pandemic, when we've been kind of quarantined to our houses and not supposed to interact with people, and then when you do interact with people, it's like we've talked about how how powerful a smile is. You can't see people fucking smiling when they're wearing masks.
Exactly.
So I think that they have added so much hopelessness and helplessness to society recently that's a huge downer, and that's the reason why alcohol sales are up and suicides are up, and I'm sure depression is up and alcoholism is probably up. And there was a time during this when I was drinking way too much, and I think it was like partial boredom, but part of it probably was a little hopelessness, helplessness, and loneliness. So I mean, I think that's huge, and that's a great episode to listen to. He has dude, I haven't read his book, but I'd still recommend, without even reading it because his messages are pretty awesome. And like what he showed was when you give people help and hope, like a lot of times they'll get out of their addiction, whatever that addiction is, just by themselves naturally, because they're not experiencing hopelessness and helplessness anymore, and then they have purpose. And we talked about purpose on our last podcast.
Yeah, because there's kind of there's a threshold of people without purpose, and they get it, and they fall very easily into that hopelessness and helplessness, and then that's quicksand. It's hard to get out of. So if you can kind of get yourself up to that threshold and start to reclaim some purpose, it's a lot easier to fend off the demons, if you will, in that regard.
Well,
I'm not saying it's easy. That's an easy explanation of it, but.
Mm-hmm. And a little purpose is easy to find. I mean, that there's, I've heard a story about a guy who he had come back from the military. I believe he was injured somehow, and he just didn't want to get out of bed in the morning. He was very depressed. He might have ended up taking his own life or whatever, but he got this service dog, and just having to know that he had to keep the dog alive, and he had to feed it, and he had to take her out, and he had to do this and he had to do that. That brought enough purpose to his life for him to crawl out of the hole he was in and like change his entire life. So, I mean, it sounds stupid, but we talked about this last episode, like planting some plants, having a pet, or just whatever. There's so many different things, having a little bit of purpose can help you get out of that. But then you can also do other things that we've talked about, tons of different things, but talking to people and having person-to-person interaction is, like JB said, that's kind of the pinnacle. That's the top of the pyramid. That's the best. But, like we forever did this podcast via phone. And then, thanks to the girls from We're Not Sure Yet podcast, we started doing it with video. Not that we even post the video, but that we use just using the video because I can see JB's, his beautiful face when I talk to him, and just having those visual cues. I know you're ugly, both of our ugly mugs, but just having those visual cues, I think, makes the conversation so much different. Like,
for sure.
Yeah. So,
well, and I feel like, therapy, getting it, you say purpose, getting a dog, something like that. And then there's also, if you get to a certain point, there's kind of a renewable purpose of helping others, because everybody's going to need help. So it's like, you can have a dog, you can have houseplants, and that's great, and I recommend that. But getting to the point where you can help others, that's that renewable purpose that really kind of feedback loops in the right direction. because you get purpose, and then you're fulfilled because it's like, oh man, this feels really good. I'm helping people. Sorry, my email keeps going off.
Loud noises.
Yeah, so there's different levels and steps to all that. So,
well, and in the true spirit of Project Reclamation, every message we have loops into every other message we have. I think a lot of that, just to kind of dovetail off what you're saying, JB, like I think that taking stock in what you have is huge, because maybe things have changed and maybe you're depressed or whatever because you can't go out, you can't go out to bars, or you can't do this or whatever during these times, or maybe whatever the thing may be. Take stock in what you have, because you still probably have it better than so many other people. And just knowing that, when you go outside, or even just knowing that, hey, everyone else is probably just as like depressed, confused, lonely, scared as you are. So just when you're outside, like even if you have to do it from 6 feet away or while you're wearing a mask or whatever, like say hi to people, ask them how they're doing, like just smile. I mean, just stupid little things like that are helping other people. Because think about how much you'd like someone to just ask you how you're doing, because I feel like a lot of times so many people are like, well, and not being able to see facial expressions is so weird with all the masks. And I'm speaking that from California. I was in Arizona last week, and like nobody wore masks. Nobody cared about anything. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
it's because it's dry. It's a dry heat.
It was kind of nice. It's kind of nice for me because it was like, oh, wow, like human interaction with facial expressions is so much cooler.
I know. I feel like such an idiot when I'm walking around with a mask on, because it's like I'm like smiling with my eyes, and everybody's like, "What is he doing?" And my eyebrows, I'm like, he's like, "Whoa, is he okay?" Like, no, I'm just smiling at you.
Is he having a stroke? What's going on?
Both sides of his face have
right? Yeah.
That's funny.
But yeah, I mean, I think that, or even if you like, even though the phone's not the best way to do it, reach out to people that and that you care about. See how they're doing, Don't call and be like, oh my God, this is going on, blah, blah, blah. Call and be like, hey man, how are you doing? How are you? What's going on?
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of power in that.
Certainly
You can
is.
do it.
You can do it.
So yeah, man, what else you got?
Not a whole lot. This might be a short episode. Just want to kind of get it out there.
Episode. Yeah. So yeah, I think free therapy. Go talk to people. Take stock in what you have.
Yeah, be creative. Realize that there are options out there.
100%. Or you know what? Record a stupid little video and then send it to people. Or put it on YouTube
so they can see your faces.
So they can see your face. Jump on a Zoom call. Jump on a WebEx. Whatever the hell it is you use. FaceTime. Google Video. I don't fucking know. Android Video. Whatever people do. Yeah, but reach out to people Talk to people on the street. Talk to people in the grocery store, even if you have to stay 6 feet away. It is what it is. I don't love it, but whatever. It's the price of entry.
Exactly.
So that's pretty much all I got. So you know what? In the words of some philosopher from the past, some sage advice, don't worry, be happy.
Yeah, Sir Bobby McFerrin, right?
Was that his dad? I don't even know, dude.
I don't know.
No idea.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all I got is that and seedless peppers.
Dude, seedless peppers. I need to go Aldi and get some of those little baby bell peppers that are so delicious and yummy.
I think that's what these are.
Yeah.
They kind of look like a little Fresno chili, but they're not hot at all.
Yeah. Well, I think the baby bell peppers they're just immature peppers that they pick.
But do they have like a different shape? Are they shaped more like a jalapeno than like a bell pepper? Do they have that little bell pepper shape?
All of those peppers are they start out like that, and then they grow into that shape as they get bigger.
Into that shape as they with the weird like the sectors or whatever.
Yeah, the quarters.
Kind of quarters. Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
And hey, if you want to learn how to cut a bell pepper, because I've been doing it wrong my whole life, dude. Sam the cooking guy will show you how to cut bell peppers, or any peppers, but mainly bell peppers.
Nice.
Yeah, you put them upright, and then you just shave off one side, and then you shave off each side, and then you can.
So you're not even hitting the seeds.
So you're not even hitting the seeds, and then what you're left with is basically the stem with like a string of seeds, and then you can just toss that, and you have like everything's perfectly, and it's so easy. He taught me how to chop onions too. Great guy, Sam the cooking guy. Thanks, Sam the cooking guy. This show's not sponsored by Sam the cooking guy.
Learning skills.
But hey, man, if you want to, partner up on something, if you want to jump on our podcast, Sam, we'd be happy about that. Maybe I'll ping Sam the cooking guy. He does live in San Diego. Ping, ping. Where's your sound effects now, JB? Fuck.
I don't know. Send me an email.
Either. All right. Well, that's all we got for today. This was a short episode. Thanks for jumping on. Thanks for listening to us. This is Tim and JB signing off.
Peace in the Middle East.
Do something that makes you happy. Go talk to people. Go experience the beauty and the wonder of free therapy.
And above all things, be good.
100%. Peace out.
So what I believe you were trying to say is thank you.